Morning, guys. Hope y'all doing well. You know, I wanted to go back into something that I talk about often. I want to go back in a little bit, talk about this book, The Mind Race, by Russell Targ. It's a unique book. It's a unique story. I remember seeing my dad read this book when I was a little boy. He had a paperback version. In fact, I'd say almost every book in my collection I remember seeing my dad have a copy of. And as I read this book, it goes into the topic of remote viewing, how CIA used psychics, and then eventually all the other alphabet agencies that ended up employing psychics. Very much a nonfiction book. It's an interesting read. But there's something that Russell goes into that really struck me. It honestly became something that was really more of the reason why I ended up diving more and more into it. And he goes into the idea of how these techniques and practices can be used to what he described as ending all suffering. He said these techniques can be used to end your pain. And I found myself really reading more for that than to see objects from faraway places. And at first, I really didn't understand how all that meant. I just knew that I wanted to get there. I got a lesson that I go into and I talk about shadow people. How when you first start to meditate, tap in, look into the astral, go through the veil, you're going to come across what they call the dweller at the threshold. I've also heard people call them shadow people. And I said, mine dance around me. I had multiple. And they would always do the same thing every time I got in. It's how I knew I was getting in. Guys, when you really start to do the inner work, the shadow work, it starts to become more and more clear. And you start to understand more about this ending of suffering and how a lot of things are just how we see it in our mind. We have these demons, these shadow people that follow us from our past, from our pain. Doesn't matter where they come from, where they originate. We all got them. Father wound, mother wound. Take your pick. But as you do the inner work, one sign that you know that you're getting there is you start to see the ones that were your enemy as teachers in a way. Don't get me wrong. They still are who they are. It's just you who sees things different. And then you start to notice the shadow people that surrounded you start to embrace you. And it feels different when they embrace you. You're healing. And you start to see a bigger picture about how even the pain, even the struggles, the torment that we went through, is really used to make you what you are today. I believe this is what he was meaning when Russell talks about how these techniques can be used to end all suffering. Will you end yours? Have a good day.